I never thought I'd be the kind of man who goes through someone's personal belongings. 72 years on this planet, and I'd always prided myself on respecting boundaries, on trusting the people I loved. But that Saturday afternoon in October, everything I believed about trust and family shattered in the span of 20 minutes. My name is Robert Mitchell. I'm a retired aerospace engineer from Portland, and up until 3 months ago, I thought I had it all figured out. My wife, Catherine, passed away 6 years back. Cancer. The aggressive kind that takes people before you're ready to say goodbye. We'd been married 48 years. After she died, I honestly didn't know how to be a person anymore. The house felt too big, too quiet. My daughter Jessica was the one who convinced me to sell the family home and move in with her and her husband Derek. "Dad, you shouldn't be alone," she'd said, her eyes wet with tears that matched my own. "We have that mother-in-law suite in the basement. It's perfect. You'd have your own space, but we'd be right upstairs." I resisted at first. What 70-year-old man wants to feel like a burden on his kids? But Jessica insisted. Derek seemed supportive. And truthfully, I was lonely. The kind of lonely that makes you talk to the television just to hear a voice in the room. So I moved in, 3 years ago, this coming December. And for the first 2 years and 9 months, it seemed like the right decision. Jessica would bring my morning coffee down to my suite. Derek and I would watch football on Sundays. I helped with my grandson, Tommy, picking him up from school when his parents were tied up at work. It felt like family. It felt like home. I should have known something was wrong earlier. Looking back now, the signs were all there. But when you trust someone, when you love them, you explain away the little inconsistencies. You tell yourself you're being paranoid. It started small. About 6 months ago, Jessica began asking questions about my health. Normal daughter questions at first. "Dad, how are you feeling? Did you take your blood pressure medication? Do you think you should see Dr. Harrison about that cough?" I appreciated her concern. What father wouldn't? But then the questions got more pointed, more frequent. "Dad, did you forget we talked about this yesterday, when I was certain we hadn't? You asked me the same question twice today. Are you feeling okay?" When I knew I'd asked once. Little comments, delivered with a concerned furrow of her brow, that made me start doubting myself. Was I forgetting things? I'm 72, not 92. Sure, I might forget where I put my reading glasses sometimes, but who doesn't? My mind was still sharp. I did the crossword puzzle every morning. I read 2 newspapers cover to cover. I managed my own finances, paid my own bills, remembered birthdays and anniversaries without reminders. But Jessica's questions planted seeds of doubt. I started second-guessing myself. Did I take my medication this morning, or was that yesterday? Did I already tell her about my doctor's appointment, or was I about to repeat myself? Derek started in on it too. "Robert, you're looking a little confused. Everything all right?" He'd say it in front of Tommy, in front of their neighbors when they came over for dinner, always with this sad, pitying look, like I was a dog that needed to be put down. Then came the comments about my finances. Jessica sat me down one evening about 2 months ago with a folder full of papers. "Dad, Derek, and I have been talking. We're worried about you managing all these accounts and bills on your own. What if you forget to pay something? What if someone takes advantage of you?" I told her I was fine. I'd been managing money since before she was born. But she persisted. She brought up a payment I'd supposedly missed on a credit card. When I checked my records, the payment had been made on time. I showed her the proof. She looked embarrassed, apologized, said she must have been looking at the wrong month. But it kept happening. Little things. Derek mentioned he'd found my car keys in the refrigerator. I never put my keys in the refrigerator. Jessica said, I'd left the stove on 3 times in 1 week. I barely used the stove. I mostly ate meals upstairs with them or grabbed sandwiches from the deli down the street. They started suggesting I see a neurologist. Just to be safe, Dad. Just to make sure everything's okay. The way they looked at me, like I was already halfway gone, made me feel small. Made me feel old in a way I'd never felt before. I went to the neurologist, Dr. Patricia Chen, a kind woman in her 40s who ran me through every test imaginable. Cognitive function, memory tests, brain scans. When the results came back, she smiled at me with relief I didn't quite understand at the time. "Mr. Mitchell, you're sharper than most 50-year-olds I see. There's no indication of dementia, Alzheimer's, or any cognitive decline whatsoever. Your memory is excellent. Your processing speed is above average for your age group. Whatever your family is concerned about, it's not a medical issue." I felt vindicated. I felt relieved. I went home and told Jessica and Derek the good news. Jessica hugged me tight. "Oh, Dad, that's wonderful. We were just so worried." Derek clapped me on the shoulder, smiled that smile of his that never quite reached his eyes, and said he was glad everything was fine. But things didn't get better. They got worse. The questions continued. The concerned looks intensified. And then, 3 weeks ago, Jessica brought up the idea of power of attorney. We were having dinner. Jessica had made pot roast, Catherine's old recipe. Tommy was at a friend's house for a sleepover. It was just the three of us, and Jessica brought out a folder, another folder. I was beginning to hate folders. Dad, Derek, and I have been consulting with an estate attorney. You know, just to make sure all your affairs are in order, just in case anything ever happens. I set down my fork. "I'm 72, not on my deathbed, sweetheart." "I know, Dad, I know. But it's just smart planning. And part of that planning is making sure someone can make decisions for you if you ever can't make them yourself. We'd like you to sign a durable power of attorney, just giving me authority to handle things if something happens. It's standard. It's what everyone does." Something in my gut twisted. Maybe it was the way Derek was watching me. Maybe it was the folder already prepared, papers already drawn up, just waiting for my signature. Maybe it was months of being made to feel incompetent in my own family. "I'll think about it," I said. Jessica's face fell. "Dad, it's really important. The attorney said we should have this in place as soon as possible. You're not getting any younger." I said I'll think about it. Derek leaned forward. "Robert, Jessica is just trying to help. You're being difficult." That stung. I'd never been called difficult. I'd been accommodating to a fault. I'd moved into their house. I'd helped with Tommy. I'd tried my best not to be a burden. And now I was being difficult because I wouldn't sign away my autonomy? I excused myself from dinner and went down to my suite. I didn't sleep well that night. I kept replaying the conversation, the look on Jessica's face, the way Derek had said I was being difficult like I was a stubborn child. The next morning, Jessica apologized. She said she'd pushed too hard, that we could talk about it another time, that she just loved me and wanted to make sure I was protected. I accepted her apology. What else could I do? She was my daughter, my only child. But something had shifted. I started paying closer attention. I started noticing things. I noticed that Derek had started working from home more often. His office was on the main floor, right above my suite. I'd hear him up there during the day, pacing, talking on the phone in low voices I couldn't quite make out. I noticed that mail addressed to me sometimes went missing. I'd see it in the stack on the hall table, and then it would disappear before I could retrieve it. When I'd ask about it, Jessica would say it must have gotten thrown out with the junk mail by accident. I noticed that my routine doctor appointments kept getting rescheduled without my knowledge. I'd show up at Dr. Harrison's office, only to be told I'd called 2 days before to change the appointment. I'd never made those calls. I started keeping notes, writing down conversations, times, dates, making copies of important documents, and keeping them in a locked box in my closet. I felt paranoid doing it, felt like I was being crazy. But Dr. Chen's words kept echoing in my head. There's nothing wrong with your memory. Your cognitive function is excellent. So if my memory was fine, why was everyone trying to convince me it wasn't? That brings me to last Saturday, October 14th, the day everything became clear. Jessica and Derek had gone to Salem for the day, some wine-tasting event with friends. They'd invited me along, but I'd declined. I wanted a quiet day at home. Tommy was at soccer practice, being watched by another parent who'd bring him home later. I was in my suite, reading the newspaper, when I realized my phone was almost dead. My charger had stopped working the day before. I'd been meaning to ask Derek if he had an extra one I could borrow. He had the same phone I did. I went upstairs. The house was quiet, empty. I knocked on Derek's office door out of habit, even though I knew he wasn't home. No answer, obviously. I opened the door. Derek's office was neat, organized. Bookshelves lined one wall, filled with business books and framed photos. His desk sat in front of the window, overlooking the backyard. His laptop was closed. A coffee mug sat beside it. Yesterday's coffee still inside, a thin film forming on top. I looked around for a phone charger, checked his desk drawers. The top ones were unlocked, filled with pens, notepads, the usual office supplies. The bottom drawer on the right was locked. I almost left it at that, almost walked away. But something made me pause. In 40 years of marriage, Catherine and I never locked drawers from each other. We had nothing to hide. Why did Derek need a locked drawer in his home office? I'm not proud of what I did next. I tried the drawer, pulled on it. It was definitely locked. I looked around the desk for a key, checked under the keyboard, the mouse pad, the desk lamp. Nothing. Then I remembered something from my engineering days. Those cheap desk locks? They're not meant for security. They're meant for privacy. And privacy locks are easy to defeat if you know what you're doing. I found a paperclip in the top drawer, straightened it out, worked it into the lock. Took me maybe 30 seconds before I heard the click. The drawer slid open. Inside was a black leather journal, the expensive kind, with thick cream-colored pages and a ribbon bookmark. Beneath it were manila folders, but the journal caught my attention. It had Derek's name embossed on the front in gold letters. I picked it up, opened to the first page, and read the words that would change everything. Project Robert. Implementation timeline. My hands started shaking. I sat down in Derek's office chair and began to read. The journal was detailed, meticulous. It was dated going back 8 months. 8 months of entries, written in Derek's neat, precise handwriting. The entries were organized like a project plan, because that's what I was to him, a project. The first entry was dated February 18th. Jay and I discussed it again last night. She's finally on board. She was resistant at first, worried about the ethics, but when I showed her the numbers, she understood. R has approximately $1.2 million in liquid assets, plus the house in Portland that still hasn't sold, estimated value $680K, plus his pension and Social Security. If we can establish incompetence and get POA, we can manage everything. Jay will be the primary beneficiary anyway when he dies, but we need access now. The business needs capital. We're underwater by $300K, and the investors are getting nervous. R's money solves everything. I had to stop reading, had to breathe. The room felt like it was tilting. Jessica was on board. My daughter, my little girl who I'd taught to ride a bike, who I'd walked down the aisle, who I'd held when she cried about her mother's death. She knew. She was part of this. I forced myself to keep reading. February 24th. Started phase 1 today. Planted first memory concern. Asked R if he'd forgotten our conversation about refinancing the house. He seemed confused. Said we'd never talked about it. Perfect. Jay backed me up. Said she remembered the conversation too. I could see the doubt in his face. This is going to be easier than I thought. March 3rd. Phase 1 progressing well. Jay is better at this than I expected. Her questions about his health seem natural, concerned. R is definitely starting to second-guess himself. I caught him checking his pill organizer 3 times this morning, like he couldn't remember if he'd already taken his medication. The seed of doubt is growing. March 17th. Escalated to phase 2. Started moving his mail before he could get to it. Intercepted a letter from his financial advisor about his investment portfolio. He doesn't need to know how much money he really has. Jay rescheduled his doctor appointments twice this week. Told the office R was confused about the dates. Creating a paper trail of cognitive issues. Dr. Harrison's nurse mentioned it when Jay took R in for his checkup. Good. April 2nd. Minor setback. R insisted on seeing a neurologist. Jay tried to talk him out of it. Said it was unnecessary, but he was adamant. We couldn't push too hard without raising suspicion. Had to let him go. Worried about what the tests might show. But Jay reminded me that even if the tests are fine, we can still argue he's declining. Medical tests don't capture everything. We just need to be more careful, more convincing. April 26th. Neurologist cleared him. Damn it, Dr. Chen said. His cognitive function is excellent. R seemed so proud when he told us. Had to pretend to be relieved. Jay played her part well, hugging him, telling him how happy she was. But we agreed afterward that this doesn't change the plan. Just means we need to be more aggressive. Move to Phase 3. May 1st. Phase 3. Initiated. Introduce the POA conversation. R seemed resistant. That's fine. We expected that. This phase is about wearing him down, making him feel like he's being unreasonable by not signing. Jay will approach it from the "I'm worried about you" angle. I'll come in harder, more practical. The business needs that capital injection by July, or we're going to have to file for bankruptcy. We're running out of time. I read entry after entry, each one more detailed than the last. Derek had documented everything, every conversation, every manipulation, every lie. May 15th. R found his keys in his jacket pocket, right where he'd left them. I'd told him earlier I found them in the refrigerator, that I was worried about him. He looked at me confused, said he never put them there. Had to backtrack, say maybe I was mistaken, maybe it was a different set of keys. Too close. Need to be more careful about claims that can be easily disproven. Stick to memory issues, conversation confusion. Those are harder for him to fact-check. May 29th. Jay is getting cold feet again. She cried last night. Said she feels terrible lying to her father. I reminded her that we're not hurting him. We're just managing his money for him. He's going to die someday anyway, and it'll all go to Jay. We're just accessing it a little early, when we need it. When she calms down, she sees the logic. She loves me. She doesn't want to lose our business, our house, our lifestyle. She'll stay the course. June 10th. Tommy asked why we keep saying Grandpa forgets things when he doesn't. Kid's too perceptive. Told him that Grandpa is getting old and sometimes old people don't realize they're forgetting. That seemed to satisfy him. Jay needs to talk to Tommy. Make sure he understands not to contradict us in front of R. The last thing we need is the kid undermining our narrative. June 24th. Financial pressure increasing. Got another call from the bank today. We're 3 months behind on the business loan. Home equity line is maxed out. Credit cards almost at their limits. We need R to sign that POA within the next month or we're going to lose everything. Jay understands now. There's no more room for sentiment. This is survival. July 8th. Second attempt at the POA. Prepared all the documents, had them ready at dinner. R said he'd think about it. That's not good enough. I pushed harder than Jay was comfortable with, told him he was being difficult. Jay got upset with me later, said I was too aggressive. Maybe I was, but we're desperate. I need him to sign those papers. July 22nd. New strategy. Going to stage an incident. Something that makes R look incompetent in a way he can't deny. Thinking about creating a situation where he appears to have left the stove on, or maybe forgetting Tommy somewhere. Something serious enough that Jay can insist on the POA for his own safety. Risky, but necessary. We're out of options. August 5th. Incident planned for this weekend. Jay is taking Tommy to her mother's. I'm going to tell R I'm going to play golf. But I'll come back. Stage a stove fire, minor enough that the smoke alarm handles it, but serious enough to scare him. Then Jay discovers it when she comes home. We'll call it a close call. She'll insist on the POA immediately. He'll be too shaken to resist. This has to work. August 7th. Plan failed. R wasn't home when I came back to stage the incident. He'd gone to the hardware store. By the time he got back, I was actually at golf. Had to abort. Jay was relieved. I think part of her was hoping I'd back out. But I'm not backing out. I'm just recalibrating. Next attempt will be better planned. The entries continued through September, through early October. Each one more desperate than the last. Derek's business was failing. He'd hidden it from everyone. He'd taken out loans using the house as collateral. He'd maxed out every line of credit. He owed investors $300,000. And he'd decided that my money was the solution. And my daughter, my Jessica, had agreed to help him steal it. The most recent entry was dated 3 days ago. October 11th. Final timeline. This weekend. Jay and I are going to Salem Saturday. Tommy has soccer. House will be empty except for R. When we get back, Jay will sit down with R and tell him we need to have a serious talk. She'll tell him that we've noticed his decline getting worse, that we're scared for him, that we love him too much to watch him hurt himself. She'll tell him that Derek's accountant found some irregularities in R's accounts, suspicious transactions that might indicate someone's taking advantage of him. She'll have fake bank statements ready to show him. She'll tell him the only way to protect himself is to sign the POA immediately. Let us manage everything. If he resists, I'll back her up. We'll tell him if he doesn't sign, we'll have to pursue guardianship through the courts, have him declared incompetent. That's messier, takes longer, but we'll do it if we have to. Either way, by Monday, we need access to his accounts. The business loan is due Tuesday. If we don't make the payment, we lose the business, the house, everything. This is it. This has to work. I sat in that office chair, Derek's journal open in my hands, and I felt something break inside me. Not my heart. That would come later. In that moment, what broke was my illusion, my belief that family meant safety, that love meant loyalty, that the people you trusted most in the world wouldn't plot your destruction in a leather journal with your own name on it. I looked at the clock. It was 1:15 in the afternoon. Jessica and Derek wouldn't be home until 6 or 7 at least. Tommy's soccer practice ended at 4. I had time. I took out my phone and started taking pictures. Every page of that journal, every entry, every detail of their plan. Then I opened the manila folders beneath it. Bank statements for Derek's business, showing the mounting debt, loan documents, legal papers. And another folder, this one with my name on it. Inside were forged bank statements for my accounts, showing transactions I'd never made, transfers to suspicious-sounding companies, withdrawals in odd amounts. It looked like someone was stealing from me. It looked exactly like what Jessica was planning to show me tomorrow. I photographed everything. Then I carefully put it all back exactly as I'd found it. Locked the drawer with the paperclip trick in reverse. Left Derek's office exactly as it had been. I went back down to my suite. Sat on my bed, and I planned. I'm an engineer. I spent 40 years solving complex problems, breaking down big challenges into smaller, manageable steps, finding solutions where others saw only obstacles. This was just another problem, and I was going to solve it. First, I needed evidence that would hold up legally. The photos were good, but I needed more. I needed them to incriminate themselves in their own words. I went online and ordered a small voice recorder. The kind investigators use, paid extra for same-day delivery. It arrived at 4:30, just before Tommy got home from soccer. That evening at dinner, I was quiet. Jessica asked if I was feeling okay. I said I was fine, just tired. Derek watched me with those calculating eyes of his. I wondered if he could tell I knew, if there was something in my face that gave it away. "Dad, we should talk tomorrow," Jessica said as I was heading back downstairs after dinner. "Derek and I have been thinking more about the power of attorney situation. We really think it's important." I turned and looked at my daughter, really looked at her. Tried to find the little girl I'd raised somewhere in this woman who was planning to rob me. "Sure, sweetheart. We can talk tomorrow." She smiled, relieved. "Good. I'm glad. I think you'll understand once we explain everything." "I'm sure I will," I thought. That night, I barely slept. I kept going over the plan in my head, checking for flaws, making sure I hadn't missed anything. The voice recorder was charged and ready, small enough to fit in my shirt pocket, powerful enough to capture clear audio. Sunday morning came. Jessica and Derek left for Salem at 9. Tommy went to soccer at 10:30. I was alone in the house. I spent the afternoon preparing. I called my attorney, Howard Chen, at his home. Howard and I had known each other for 30 years. He'd handled Catherine's estate, my will, everything. I trusted him completely. "Howard, I need you to come to my daughter's house this evening, around 7. And I need you to bring a colleague, someone who can serve as a witness. I'm going to need documentation of what's discussed." "Robert, what's going on?" "I'll explain when you get here. Just trust me. This is important." I also called my financial advisor, Margaret Torres, asked her to pull complete records of all my accounts, every transaction going back 12 months. Email them to me immediately. And Margaret, have there been any attempts to access my accounts recently? Any unusual inquiries? Actually, yes. About 2 weeks ago, someone claiming to be your daughter called asking for your complete portfolio breakdown. We didn't provide it, of course, not without your authorization. But yes, there was an inquiry. Document that. I'm going to need it. I called Dr. Chen's office, left a message for her to call me back. When she did, I explained the situation. Dr. Chen, I need you to write a letter on your official letterhead, stating the results of my cognitive tests, specifically stating that I showed no signs of dementia or cognitive impairment. Can you do that? Of course, Mr. Mitchell. I'll have it ready first thing tomorrow. But Robert, what's happening? Are you okay? I will be. Soon. By 6:30, I had everything in place. The voice recorder in my pocket, turned on and recording. Howard Chen and his colleague, another attorney named Patricia Reeves, waiting in my downstairs suite, complete financial records printed and organized. Dr. Chen's letter, which she'd been kind enough to email to me immediately, printed and ready. I heard Jessica and Derek come home at 6:45. Heard them upstairs, talking in low voices. I imagined they were reviewing their plan, making sure they had their story straight. At 7 o'clock, there was a knock on my door to the suite. Jessica. Dad, can we come down? We'd like to talk to you about something important. Sure, sweetheart. Come on down. Jessica came down the stairs first, Derek behind her. They both stopped when they saw Howard and Patricia sitting in my small living room. Dad, what's going on? Who are these people? I stood up, looked at my daughter, my son-in-law, Jessica, Derek. These are my attorneys, Howard Chen and Patricia Reeves. They're here to witness our conversation. Please, sit down. Derek's face went red. Robert, what is this? We came down here to have a family conversation. We don't need lawyers present. Oh, I think we do. Especially given what you're planning to accuse me of. Jessica's face went pale. Dad, I don't understand. I pulled out my phone, brought up the photos of Derek's journal. I found your husband's project plan, Jessica. Project Robert. Very thorough, very detailed. Every manipulation, every lie, every step of your plan to steal my money, documented in Derek's handwriting. Derek lunged toward me. Howard stepped between us. Mr. Hansen, I'd advise you to sit down. You went through my private office? You broke into my locked drawer? Derek's voice was shaking with rage. I did. And what I found there is evidence of elder abuse, attempted fraud, and conspiracy to commit financial exploitation. All of which I've documented. All of which I'm prepared to report to the police if we can't reach an understanding right now. Jessica was crying. Dad, please, let me explain. It's not what it looks like. Really? So you didn't agree to help Derek steal my money? You didn't spend months trying to convince me I was losing my mind? You didn't plan to show me forged bank statements tomorrow to scare me into signing over my power of attorney? She couldn't answer. Just sat there crying. I pulled out the folder with the forged bank statements. Dropped it on the coffee table. Tomorrow's props. Very convincing. Would have worked too, if Derek had remembered to lock his drawer after he put this together. Derek sat down heavily on the couch. He looked defeated. Caught. How much did you read? All of it. 8 months of planning. Every detail. Your failing business. Your debt. Your decision that my money was the solution. I sat down across from them, the voice recorder still running in my pocket. Here's what's going to happen. Derek, you're going to dissolve your business. You're going to declare bankruptcy if you need to. But you're not getting a penny of my money. Not now. Not ever. Not in my will. I'm removing Jessica as my beneficiary. Everything will go to charity, specifically to organizations that protect elderly people from exactly what you tried to do to me. Dad, no. Please. Jessica was sobbing now. Real sobs. Maybe the first real emotion I'd seen from her in months. You're my daughter. I love you, but I will never trust you again. What you did, what you were willing to do, It's unforgivable. You didn't just try to steal my money. You tried to steal my mind. You tried to make me believe I was losing myself. Do you understand how cruel that is? I'm sorry. Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to. Derek said we had no choice. We were going to lose everything. You still might. That's up to you and Derek to figure out. But it won't be with my help. Derek finally spoke up. His voice was quiet, defeated. What do you want? You said if we could reach an understanding. What are your terms? I'm moving out. Tomorrow. I've already called a moving company. They'll be here at 9 a.m. I'm going to an assisted living community, not because I need assistance, but because it's a place where I'll have my own space and security, where no one can manipulate me or make me doubt myself. Dad, you don't have to leave. This is your home. No, Jessica. This was never my home. It was a trap I walked into willingly. I see that now. I looked at Derek. You're not going to contact me. You're not going to ask me for money. If you do, if you harass me in any way, I'm going to the police with all of this evidence. I'm also going to file a lawsuit for attempted fraud and emotional distress. Howard assures me I have an excellent case. Howard nodded. Ironclad. But if you leave me alone, if you stay out of my life completely, I won't pursue criminal charges. That's the deal. Take it or leave it. Derek and Jessica looked at each other. Some silent communication passed between them. Finally, Derek nodded. We'll take it. Good. One more thing. Tommy, I want to still see my grandson. Once a month, supervised visits at a neutral location. That's non-negotiable. He didn't do anything wrong, and I won't punish him for your sins. Jessica nodded, wiping tears from her face. Okay. Yes. Of course, you can see Tommy. Then we're done here. Howard will send over the paperwork tomorrow. You'll sign it, have it notarized, and return it within 48 hours. If you don't, the deal is off, and I go straight to the police. I stood up. The meeting was over. Howard and Patricia gathered their things. As they headed up the stairs, I turned back to Jessica one more time. I want you to know something. When your mother died, I was lost. Completely lost. The only thing that kept me going was you. Knowing I still had you, still had family. These last 3 years, living here, even when things got weird, I told myself I was blessed. That I had a daughter who loved me, who wanted me close. My voice cracked. I couldn't help it. You took that from me. You took the only comfort I had left. I don't know if I'll ever forgive you for that. Jessica reached for me. Dad, please. I stepped back. Goodbye, Jessica. I went back down to my suite and closed the door. Heard them leave. Heard Jessica crying as Derek led her upstairs. I sat on my bed and finally let myself feel it. The grief, the betrayal, the loss of the daughter I thought I knew. The moving company came the next morning, just like I'd arranged. I packed up 3 years of my life in a few hours. Tommy came down before I left, crying, asking why I was leaving. I knelt down and hugged him tight. Grandpa has to go live somewhere else for a while, buddy. But I'll still see you. Once a month, we'll go get ice cream or go to the zoo, whatever you want. Okay? Promise? I promise. Jessica and Derek stayed upstairs while I moved out. Didn't even come down to say goodbye. Maybe that was better. Easier. I'm in my new place now. A nice 2-bedroom apartment in a senior living community in Beaverton. It's quiet, safe. My neighbors are friendly but respect my privacy. I've made a few friends. There's a woman named Eleanor, a widow like me, who plays chess. We have coffee sometimes in the morning. The paperwork came through. Derek dissolved his business, declared bankruptcy. They had to sell the house. Jessica called once, about 6 weeks after I moved out, to tell me they were moving to an apartment in Gresham. She sounded tired, defeated. She asked how I was doing. I kept the conversation short, polite, cold. I've seen Tommy 3 times since I moved out. Ice cream, the zoo, a movie. Each time, Jessica drops him off at the agreed-upon location, and Derek's sister picks him up. We don't interact. Jessica waves from the car, her face sad. I don't wave back. Howard tells me I did the right thing, that pressing charges would have been justified. But that walking away was the better choice for my own peace of mind. Maybe he's right. Dr. Chen called to check on me. She said what Jessica and Derek did is more common than people think. Elder abuse, she called it. Financial exploitation by family members. It happens thousands of times a year. Usually it works. Usually the elderly person never finds out, or finds out too late to do anything about it. I got lucky. I found that journal. If Derek had remembered to hide it better, if I hadn't needed a phone charger that day, I'd probably be signing away my power of attorney right now. They'd have access to everything. And eventually, when I died, probably sooner than I would have naturally, Jessica would inherit whatever was left. It's been 3 months now. I still think about it every day. Still wonder if there were signs I missed earlier. Still question every interaction we had over those 3 years. But mostly, I'm learning to live again. Learning to trust myself. Learning that being alone isn't the same as being lonely. Eleanor and I had dinner last night at the community center. She made lasagna. Afterward, we played cards with 2 other residents, Martha and Jim. We laughed, told stories. It felt good. Normal. As I was walking back to my apartment, Eleanor stopped me. "Robert, you seem lighter lately. More yourself." "I feel lighter," I told her. And it was true. I lost my daughter. Lost the family I thought I had. But I found something more important. I found myself again. Found the man I was before months of gaslighting and manipulation made me doubt everything about myself. Sometimes at night, I still get angry. Still want to call Jessica and scream at her, ask her how she could do this to me. But then I remember that the Jessica I want to call, the daughter I thought I had, maybe never existed. Maybe I only saw what I wanted to see. People ask me sometimes if I regret moving in with them in the first place. I don't. Because if I hadn't, I wouldn't have discovered what they were capable of. I would have given Jessica power of attorney eventually, probably when I actually did start to decline. And by then, it would have been too late to stop her. At least now I know. At least now I'm protected. I've set up a trust. Everything's managed by professionals. Howard oversees it all. When I die, my money will go to the National Council on Aging, to their elder abuse prevention programs. Maybe it'll help protect someone else from what almost happened to me. There's an irony in that. Jessica was going to inherit everything anyway. If she'd just been patient, just loved me like a daughter should, it all would have been hers eventually. But greed makes people stupid, makes them risk everything for a shortcut. I saw her once, about a month ago. I was at the grocery store, and she was there with Tommy. Our eyes met across the produce section. She looked like she wanted to come over, to talk. I turned and walked the other way. Tommy saw me, though, ran over before Jessica could stop him, hugged me tight. "Hi, Grandpa. Are we still going to the arcade next week?" "Absolutely, buddy. Saturday at 2, just like we planned." Jessica caught up to him, looking embarrassed. "Dad, hi." Jessica. An awkward silence. She looked older, tired. There were lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before. "How are you?" she asked finally. "I'm well." "You?" "We're managing. Derek found a new job. Not great money, but it's something. The apartment is small, but we're making it work." "Good." Another silence. Tommy looked between us, sensing the tension even if he didn't understand it. "Dad," Jessica started. "I need to finish my shopping," I interrupted. "Tommy, I'll see you Saturday, okay?" I walked away. Didn't look back. When I got to my car, my hands were shaking. Took me a few minutes before I could drive. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about Jessica's face, the sadness in her eyes. Kept wondering if I was too harsh, if I should try to forgive. But then I remembered reading that journal, remembered every calculated entry, every cold notation about how to manipulate me, remembered the fake bank statements, the plan to have me declared incompetent if I didn't cooperate. No, I made the right choice. Sometimes the people you love are capable of terrible things, and sometimes the only way to survive is to walk away. I'm 73 years old now. My birthday was last month. Eleanor made me a cake. The community center threw a small party. It was nice, simple. No one tried to gaslight me. No one had ulterior motives. Just people being kind, because kindness is what you do. This is my life now. Smaller than before, maybe. Quieter. But it's mine. Built on truth instead of manipulation. On respect instead of exploitation. And you know what? I sleep better now than I have in 3 years. If I hadn't found that journal, I'd probably still be in that house, signing away my autonomy, losing myself piece by piece to their carefully orchestrated plan. I'd be a victim, a statistic, another elderly person taken advantage of by the people who were supposed to protect them. Instead, I'm here, free, aware, alive in a way I haven't been since Catherine died. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the thing that saves you. That journal, that terrible, detailed record of betrayal, it saved my life. It gave me back my future. I'm not sure what that future looks like yet. But for the first time in a long time, I'm looking forward to finding out.